Evening, fantasy owners. It's time for your daily installment of Fantasy Football Rankings. This rendition is brought to you by Kentucky Mudflap. Now, how we're going to do this, we're going to start at number 10 and work our way all the way down to number 1. Alright, so each team's going to give their own little video. We're going to start with the 10th place team first, and the team that I think's got the best chance to win it will be last, obviously. Who knows? Good chance it could be Diesel this year. It's all up in the air. As far as the rankings, they were calculated using a series of complex formulas. Alex, Tyler, Grubb. I know complex and formula in the same sentence might be a little much, so if you want, we can do a little one-on-one session. I'll explain it all to you, break it right down for you. I basically took your starters: 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, and a defense. And I picked the guys that I thought you'd be starting most of the year, gave them a grade, and that's how the rankings were computed. Did not factor in a kicker or the bench. Just too many variables there, and the kicker, for me, they're all the same. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. The scores were actually fairly close. It was a lot closer than probably years past. Our lowest GPA was a 2.86, our highest only a 3.28, so fairly close. Wouldn't be surprised if that last place team snuck into the top half. So with nothing to do, we're starting with number 10. Coming in at number 10, we have Jay-Z. His draft did improve a little bit this year from last. I know it's only his second year doing it, so he's out trying to learn fast. Did get a little better. I just think he's a little soft in a couple of positions. Quarterback, Peyton Manning, definitely gets an A there. It's probably the best player on his team, and if Peyton has a big year, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy wins a lot of games. So Peyton Manning, very solid quarterback. I think that knee's healthy. I think he'll be off to a good start. Running back, Marion Barber, very solid choice there. He didn't have a whole lot he could pick from at running back. He didn't get a running back till round 2, so that kind of hurt him. But Marion Barber is the best one on there. I have him rated as a B player. Now, I definitely think he can move up into that A range if he can return to his form he had 2 years ago. So Marion Barber gets a B. Willie Parker, I think that was a little bit of a reach. I have Parker rated as a C. Now, when Willie Parker is healthy, he can be a fantasy beast. He doesn't get a lot of touchdowns though, but he does get lots of yardage. So Willie Parker gets a C with the potential to maybe move up to that BC range if he has a big year. If he doesn't have a big year, he could obviously drop to the next grade level below, which would be a D. So it's a little shaky turf right there. Receivers, he has Brandon Marshall. I like Brandon Marshall a lot. He gets a B. A lot of potential upside there, but also a lot of downside. He's been injured. He wants to be traded. Who knows what's going to happen there. So Brandon Marshall gets a B. A lot of upside. Hopefully he doesn't end up shooting himself in the leg while he's at a club. Next, he has Santonio Holmes. Well, I do think Santonio Holmes is a pretty solid receiver. Having him as your number 2 could be a little bit rough. So Santonio Holmes gets a BC grade for me with potential to be higher if they have a big year. Hopefully my boy Big Ben will throw a lot of touchdown passes. So Santonio Holmes gets a BC. And for wide receiver, I know he has Tony Gonzalez, which isn't a bad pick, but I think he'll probably play double D, Donald Driver, more than Tony Gonzalez. Donald Driver is getting up there in age. Not quite the player he was 3 or 4 years ago. I'm actually surprised he's not on Americans roster. That was a fantasy staple. You could count on that year in and year out. Double D gets a C. If he can steal some of those touchdowns from Greg Jennings, who knows? Watch out. Could be a fantasy steal right there. And then he has the Bears defense. Now, as far as defensive rankings go, they're not my own. I stole them from another fantasy website. How do you rank a defense? There's so many variables there. So on another website, they had rankings for fantasy defenses, and the Bears, they get an A-B. So pretty solid defense, although I did see Devin Hester wasn't going to return kicks, so that might hurt them. They are aging, so who knows what can happen there. I don't really see them outperforming that A-B rating. If anything, they might slide a little bit. So in number 10, we have Jay-Z with a grade point average of 2.86. He does have some potential there to do better. He's going to beat some teams this year. We're not going to have anybody with like 1, 2, or 3 wins. It's going to be a lot closer race this year. Tune in tomorrow, and you'll get your number 9 ranked team, and we'll work our way right to that number 1 team. And you all know who it's going to be, don't you? And with that, Kentucky Mudflap is out. Good night, y'all.